Larry, we're glad you're here today to tell us a story about the fire truck here that is Fairfield's original motorized piece of equipment. So I guess the first question would be is how did you end up getting it originally?
I purchased at an auction in Johnsville, Maryland, a public Labor Day auction in 1980.
Did you need to get some information on it, or did you just start taking it apart and getting
Well, yeah, Bob Deardor, who owned a truck at one time from the Fairfield area, found out I had it, and he came to my shop, and after the second time he came, we got it running, and then that encouraged me. And then the week between Christmas and New Year's, me and the two Bollinger brothers totally disassembled the whole truck, and I started out by having everything sandblasted and just started gathering up parts for it.
So basically, well, we do have original pictures that you had of it. It's in pretty rough shape. So you used what you had to mimic what should have been there.
Yeah. Yes.
I think you said that the tanks that Bob Deardor found in the local junkyard, so we're almost certain that was they're the original tanks that were on this.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there was
on the fire truck.
I guess the man that owned it, Keymar, Maryland, put the tanks back, found them, put them back with the truck. But then he passed away before he had gotten too much done to it. And then that's when I ended up finding out about this auction in Johnsville.
So how many years did it take you to get it up to the way it looks today? I mean, I know you spent a lot of time and effort on it, and then plus probably finding the parts was another problem.
It took pretty much 6 years till I was ready to show it for the first time at Hershey at the ACA meet in Hershey in 1986.
What's ACA? What's the ACA?
Antique Automobile Club of America.
Okay. How did you do at the ACA competition?
I got a first junior with it the first time I ever showed it, which was about as good as you could get then. And then I took it back in '87 and received a senior award with it, and then was nominated for our national award, and had to send pictures to the vice president of the AACA, and he picked it for the national award. And then a few years later, I took it up to Canandaigua, New York for a Grand National, and was lucky enough to receive a first Grand National with it.
And those are what that's what the emblems are here on the front that you can show here. So what's the one on the left here?
Well, this would have been the start. This was the junior, the 1986 first place, national first place,
Right.
and then this was a senior, I think. Is that senior there?
Yep.
That was a senior, and then this was a national award for it. I think that's what that one says.
Okay. Yep.
And then this here was a Grand National first with the ACA. So it pretty much accomplished everything that you could accomplish with it.
So then you were saying that you enjoyed running it, for years, and
Yes,
you.
we did. My kids were little, and we used to take out and drive around the Pigeon Hills, and I drove to several shows that were close, within a 20-mile radius of Hanover. But it wasn't always. I mean, if I took any distance, I had to haul it.
Right.
But, I had it in Lewistown. I had it up at Lattimore again, the ACA meets up at Lattimore Valley, and different places, that wasn't too far to run it. I would drive it. But most of the places that were far away, I had Winchester, Virginia several times. At Hagerstown once, Harrisburg several times.
What was the most difficult part of the restoration when you started working on it?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Probably gathering up parts, or 'cause that took I mean, parts came from everywhere. I mean,
Right. I know you said you had a problem finding the seat for it.
Yeah, I found that. I found the seat for the Hershey at the ACA meet. I know the spotlight, and I forget what else. Maybe the pry bar or something came from over at the Gap over in Lancaster County. One ladder came from Carlisle, and one came from Lineborough, Maryland. Lanterns, I gathered those up at flea markets. The hardest thing to find would have been the soda and acid containers on this other side over here. I did find a pair for $2,500, which was just out of my reach. And then there was a guy.
So what's this? What's this
That
right
would
here?
be the soda container,
Right.
and then this actually it's sulfuric acid that they mixed with to make the chemical reaction work. In fact, here we can get this sign out that he has. That's how you operate the tank system. Like to charge it, that's how you put the water and acid and soda in,
Right.
and then the center one's how to operate it, to use the hose and the nozzle, and then that would the recharge would tell you how to recharge the tank so they're ready for the next call.
And this also did water as well as for the hoses, or how would that work?
How that would work was that in this era, they would have fire hydrants in the town, and they would actually fight the fire off the fire hydrants. They would go and this would all be full of hose. They'd lay their hose, and then either one of these nozzles that's on the back they would use to go in the larger fires and fight fire, that way. Because the soda acid wouldn't fight, a whole house on fire, but a room and contents or small sheds and that they would be very good to do it. In fact, it was state of the art firefighting in that day and age.
And the truck takes a special tail light lens because it lights down to the bottom. And that lens, I bit my tongue. I think I gave like $125 for that little, just this part, not the housing, because it was truck only, and cars were reversed. The license plate went on top for the car ones, and to have the emblem the right way and stuff.
Well, I know. So, but that's the way they fought fire. You see, hose carts and that sort of stuff.
Right.
So instead of a hose cart, they actually had the hose on a truck. And then this bin up here is where.
Yeah, that was another hard item to find. That nozzle,
See the.
which needs cleaned up.
Well, I mean that's.
Wow.
Charlie Deer's been looking through the old minutes and found some interesting things about the truck. There were 7 or 8 people that were given special jobs to do. They had a driver, and they had a nozzleman. They had a person that was a valveman, so I imagine he took care of running the valves here to run. And they had the people that were in charge of charging the tanks, so it would be ready for the next call. So they had a lot of people designated for special things to do with this unit that they had from Fairfield. So whenever they were trying to get to the place, what they had was all mechanical warning systems. As you see, there's no red flashing lights or anything. So they had a hand crank siren that And just for knowledge, that in our museum we do have the original siren and the original bell that was on this fire truck. So we do have those original items for this fire truck.
And what were you saying about the siren?
Oh, that was available at the auction where the fire truck was sold, but they sold it separately, and I ended up getting it there, but no brackets. So then I kept looking for it. Had no bracket with, so I kept looking and finally rounded up a bracket for the siren.
Now, was the Fairfield decal on there? Is that something you did? And
Yeah, that's something I did. I don't know. In fact, I had it lettered a different way, and I didn't like it, and I took it off and redid it. So I have no clue how it was done, or
Done
if it was
originally.
on, or whatever.
And Larry, this is what you do, this type of artwork or gold leafing for emergency services?
Well, I do sign painting, lettering, and I do gold leafing and striping and anything in the sign industry, basically.
So those are wooden and not necessarily, they're not metal, right? They're wood.
The spokes are wood, and then the outer rim is metal.
Right.
The outer part of the rim.
Were they in pretty good shape, or something you had to?
They weren't terrible. I think there's pictures of them in there. We have them hanging on the wall. We were priming them and everything.
But they are the original tires
Yeah,
for,
yeah,
I mean, spokes and wheels and stuff for the engine.
Yeah, I'm amazed that they were as good as they were. I mean, I had some filling to do and stuff here and there, but they were actually not too bad.
And the seat, you say someone built that for you, or is that something that you had fabricated yourself?
What
The seat that's in there right now.
No, I purchased that at Hershey Car Show, Hershey ACA show in Hershey. I don't know, maybe 2 years after I got the truck. I'm thinking, and of course had it reupholstered and had that done twice because the first time didn't suit me.
And now, you want to talk about the engine and what kind of engine is in it? And
It's a 4-cylinder Chevrolet. And that, with the help of friends, it wasn't a complete rebuild, but we checked all the bearings and everything, and I had a guy to adjust the valves on it and go over everything like that. Which, I mean, it seems to run. Engine seems pretty good in it. Yeah,
it's pretty clean, that's for sure.
yeah, I had all that. One thing when I was putting it together, and I didn't know, a guy said, if you're going to take it to Hershey and show it for a car show, he said, make sure every bolt that has slots in goes up and down. Don't have any of these all go up and down so water don't lay in them. You know, and there's a lot of things I learned from different people and different things when I was, getting ready to take it to a show.
Well, when did you find out that this is actually Fairfield's truck? When you bought it, or is it something you stumbled upon?
I think I was advertised in the auction ad, I believe, for, I think my memory's right there. I wish I would have kept that. I didn't. It was in the Maryland section of the Hanover paper, the Evening Sun.
Right.
And I had just done quite a bit of lettering and striping on a 25 Chevy Huckster truck. And my friend kept saying, why don't you get a fire truck? I said, I'm not a fireman. And here, within a couple months, this thing showed up, and I thought, well, there's the answer to me having a small fire truck, and
So it was advertised as Fairfield Fire Engine, and
I'm quite certain it was. Which that I guess just being small and something I thought wasn't going to take a lot of room and not be so, because I previously owned a 23 LaFrance, big fire truck, 890 cubic inch engine I think it was, and 3 spark plugs for each cylinder, and it was me and a guy had a body shop up at Cross Keys, bought that together. It was from Trenton, New Jersey, and I found it in Franklintown, and we drove that thing from Franklintown to Cross Keys, and it was of course right-hand steering and chain drive, and then we gave up on that, and we sold that to Donnie Gantz.
Yeah, Donnie Gantz, yes.
And he wanted this, and the worst way I said, no, you ain't getting, you're not getting it from me then.
Tanks were probably a little bit easier to deal with than a pump and everything, too.
Yeah, I didn't know much about them, and I took a picture of a Model T fire truck at Hershey. I think that's in that book where they found out how the sign was, the wording and everything for the sign, and then made that. I thought, I don't know how I'm going to letter all that on that little sign, but
Good. So, Larry or Bill, these tanks, they were both filled with 2 separate chemicals or one chemical, or how does that work?
There's Larry for that. If you look on here, they're filled with water, and then
I know there was like an extra, and
there's a special place to put the acid.
Well, there was a canister, and I had part of one of them. It wasn't ate up, and I think that canister sit down inside this lid, and I guess that's where the soda and acid was, I suppose. There again, that's a little bit out of my.
Doesn't come off.
I guess it's just that many threads. I guess because of the pressure.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a canister set in here, and I had part of one of them, but it was so.
Well, yeah, because the acid eats the stuff up.
And that's what was with the soda and the acid containers. They were all eaten up. And finally, I found a pair. I forget where that. Oh my God! But we were in Valhalla, New York, at some fire engine shows. I think that's where I found the originals, like the $2,500. I thought, that's a little out of my range.
That's the problem with this soda ash stuff, acid stuff, because of the toxicity of the acid and the use of sulfuric acid to make the chemical reaction and the baking soda. So, but if you read that, it's pretty damn complicated. How they.
The gauges, I had those redone. The guy that I worked with one time had a silk screen shop in New York, and he said, "You paint them, and I'll make a screen for them and rescreen them for you." I said, "How do I get the background to look like that?" And I took one color silver, and then I took a pewter color and went over them and misted it on, and then took clear and re-cleared, and then he screened to work on them. Screened the lettering on them. But that was another thing. How am I ever going to get gauges? Get the things to look right.
I was telling the young guy was asking me about it. He says, "You ever mix like vinegar and baking soda and have that chemical?" I said, "That's the same type of principle, but with different chemicals."
Well, it's more powerful acid, really. I mean, that's how it worked. It was just like the old soda acid extinguisher that you turned upside down. They had that lead, that lead thing. Whenever it turned down, it let the acid out of the little cup, and then it hit the baking soda water, and then it shot.
See,
pressurizing itself.
There's a lock on these that you can unlock, and then you would turn the tank upside down.
Okay, that's how it does. Okay, I was wondering what that wheel. So so you turn. That's how you turn the
chemical loose into the
chemical loose. So that would be in the basket. The acid would be in the basket here, and you turn that over, and then
Yeah, chemical reaction would start.
would start and give you the pressure to shoot the water out of the, the soda acid, your water soda acid mixture.
See, I was wondering, actually, well, I have to take that off and put it down quick and show it
Yeah.
quick. That wouldn't work.
Okay,
But now,
well,
now you showed that process.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the same thing for the second tank here. You could, yeah, it's got a top on that as well. So
Yeah.
they just spin, and that what gives you the pressurized in the tanks.
And I guess through all the valves you would control which tank
way it
was
went.
opening or.
Very cool.
About it, so I had a man in New York I let her drag cars for.
What was that? The transmission?
Yeah, and he took it in and rebuilt the transformer. Of course, I wasn't aware of some of the things without having all the communications you do today. And he said, "Well, whatever we need, I'll make." So he made, I think he made one gear for it, and then some of the bearings he could get the right outside diameter, but not the right inside diameter. So he would make the shaft, turn the shafts to make that all work.
Right.
Because when we took the cap off the transmission, it was full of water. Oh, what a mess that was! But that was another thing. I had a lot of friends, a lot of help that through knowing a lot of different people that really helped me out a lot. Other than that, I don't know.
So no, it says 1926, and then there's someone says 1928. What's the full story on that? Is it 26 or 28 or?
We're still learning, but I talked to one guy that's from the fire truck antique. I forget what the organization is, but he said actually it's not uncommon to have that difference of when and where. He said because the chassis weren't available, and he said it's normal for this dating that there can be discrepancies on when something was made.
Right.
Because he said a lot of time the chassis weren't available, but the other stuff was available. So he said it can be a couple years difference on what is what. So he said it's actually quite normal for this age group of vehicle to have some discrepancies on the age of the chassis.
One thing I told Bill, I think, anyway, I said one thing I was most probably, you asked me what was the most, I don't know, not the right word for aggravating, whatever, but I found a roll of red string and I've wrapped that that nozzle.
Yeah.
I get this far from the top and I run out of string. And I had to start all over. Then I found I don't know, I just didn't know where to find rolls of red string to rewrap it.
Well, show me. You actually wrap that in string.
Yeah, that's what that's an underwriter's play pipe. Is what
Yeah.
it's called.
So that's individual string wrapped around a.
And I got up to about here and ran out of string, and I thought, I can't keep it. That's never going to look right. And I think, lo and behold, I found a roll of a much bigger roll. I still think I have red string at the shop.
So, Larry, any other thing interesting or points of interest you want to point out about the engine? Is that the original radiator top on that?
No, it had just a plastic black cap, and there again, was it correct to do it that? I don't know, but I found one, I think it was a Chevrolet emblem in the top of it, and I found one that they did do on Chevrolet, so, yeah, no Chevrolet. So once I found that, I thought, that looks so much nicer than a black plastic cap.
Oh yeah.
Some things I did, the steering wheel had a black plastic wheel on it, and it was chipped and cracked, and then I found a wooden wheel for it. So I can't say that everything is, 100%. Like this thing here is not right, but I have that hooked up to electric and
Right.
have a little thing that dings.
Oh, is that right? You make it ding?
I just thought that was neat.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
things that fascinated me that,
Was that a hand crank at the one time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the crank's in the back, and when we first got it fired, he said, "You don't need a battery. You don't need a battery." This Bob Deerdorf, he said, "As long as we got fire and we got gas," he said, "I got a crank little fire," and he cranked it. And I used to take it to shows, and I'd crank it just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful which way you hold the crank, in case it backfire, break your wrist. You gotta
Right.
hold it so it can pull it out of your hand rather than.
Into your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I started quite a bit with a crank years ago.
Very nice.
But I can't. I know you don't see many on Chevrolet chassis. I know there's one, a 24, I think it's 24 Chevy up